no more are being built, you can't buy a brand new one anymore. When the T6 came out, nobody liked it. Have Volkswagen committed brand suicide? 2023, the huge year of change. Everything has changed, but we're yet to find out how all that is going to pan out. There are new vans, and initially one of them has got really negative feedback. But why? I actually think there's quite a lot of positives about it. But before the landscape of vans changed, the landscape of Calor changed. Calor made some big changes to the gas bottles. And tonight, I've not got gas. And if you saw my previous video, my Christmas cooking in a camper van, I don't think you will, not many did. Then I actually featured this, and I also showed that I've got some of these colour packs. And hopefully you'll be able to see that once the fire starts going. But I absolutely love my Solo stove. It is definitely one of the best purchases which I have made this year. Let's chuck a couple of these colour packs in and see if we can see. But yeah, as far as Calor was concerned, they decided that they were going to stop producing the smaller gas bottles. The smaller gas bottles, which a lot of people found in the... Look at that! Look how cool that is! That's proper cool. The people had the campervans and they used these small bottles because obviously they're quite compact and they're able to do that. So when Calor made that change and they decided that no longer we're going to be stocking these small bottles, people had to make a decision. And the choice that people had to make was pretty much Campingaz or Flogas. And I know a lot of people did make that change to Flogas, including a lot of people within the leisure industry. A lot of the retailers of these vehicles, they had to make a decision because if they're selling campervans, but they're not actually able to stock the gas bottles which people have got to go in them, then it's could be a bit of an issue there because you're not really going to get those after sales. You're not going to get people coming back. So they also had to make that change. A lot of them are obviously now LPG. They've got the LPG underslung tank, which personally I really do like. So it resulted in Campingaz actually losing quite a lot of sales. So oops, that was a bit of a boo-boo from Campingaz, or did they not care? Well, seemingly, yes they did, because I have heard, although not actually seen anything official as yet, but Campingaz are actually reintroducing the stock of these smaller bottles. But is it too late? Because anybody who had one last year would surely have had to do something about it in that interim period. So they've either chosen to go down a Flogas, a Campingaz, an underslung tank, whatever it is, and moved away from Campingaz. So how much of the market have Campingaz actually lost because of that? Guess we'll never know. And the next bit of news, the first bit of news as far as vans is concerned, and that is the closing of the order book for the T6.1 Transporter, although that isn't the end of the story. Essentially what this was Volkswagen saying you can no longer order the new T6.1 panel van, etc. But what a few salespeople started to do is says, that's the end of it, no more are being built, you can't buy a brand new one anymore, come and buy all this used stock. That wasn't strictly true. Well, that wasn't actually true at all, because Volkswagen were obviously still producing, and they still are producing, the T6.1s now. In fact, when it happened at the time, they pretty much said anything which is in the order pipeline, that is it. You can't change any specs, you can't do anything to them, what you've ordered is what you're going to get. However, as time has gone by, that has actually changed slightly. So now you are actually able to, if you have put an order in, with certain dealers, you are actually able to change the specifications. So, you know, if you'd ordered one without the LED lights, and obviously made that mistake, then perhaps you can actually go back now and specify, actually, yes, I do want the LED lights before that gets done. But I am actually hearing mixed views on that, and I've actually seen that people have managed to do it, and I've also heard from others who've not. So maybe it depends on who your dealer is there. But yeah, the T6.1 is, to this day, as of the whatever it is, late in December 2023, the vehicles are still actually being built, still being produced, and they will still be coming through into 2024. And as we have seen during this year, the start lines were coming through at the beginning of the year, and the high lines have started to come through towards the latter part of the year. Bay leaf green, unfortunately for me, is a colour which is now in the dim and distant past, although I could buy a used one or wrap another vehicle, or I could still get the colour if I wanted to. But as far as the order book's concerned, even though you can add options, bay leaf green is no longer an option, and no brand new vehicles will be produced as a T6.1 in bay leaf green. But what didn't close in February 2023 was the orders for the T6.1 California. The California could still be ordered, could still be specified online, specified in the dealer and purchased. And actually still to this day now, as I said, the end of December 2023, you can still specify a brand new California. You can even actually have it in 4Motion, which did disappear a little while ago, but has come back. But what Volkswagen did do in February was actually introduce a new model, and that's the California Surf, which sits in between the California beach and the California ocean. Yeah, it sits in between the beach and the ocean. I see what they did there. And this is kind of closer to the ocean than it is to the beach. It's kind of like a California ocean, but with a slightly degraded spec. And if you look at it closely, it did seem when they brought out that Surf model that it was actually the parts which wasn't available to Volkswagen at the time, because obviously we've been through that parts issue, the supply chain just wasn't there, so they weren't able to get them. And I believe that might have been why they actually introduced the Surf. No idea what sales numbers are like, but the California does sell well anyway, so I'm pretty sure that the Surf would have followed suit. And as the California can still be ordered and the T6.1 is outgoing, the residuals are far, far better than any luxury or platinum vehicle which you're going to get from any other converter. They do hold the value really, really well. Is now a really good time to buy, especially when there's 0% finance available on them. But when I say 0% finance, I do mean after a 50% deposit, a minimum of a 50% deposit. That's a pretty hefty deposit. But if you've got that money and you did want a vehicle which is going to hold its value, is extremely good, does everything you want it to do as far as a campervan's concerned, a really good brand name, built properly, then maybe a California Ocean is a good buy at the moment. Don't know, you tell me. Nothing's for certain. We don't really know. But as we find out that this could well be the last California built on the Transporter platform, because a little bit later on, Volkswagen introduced the California concept built on the Multivan, the passenger carrying vehicle, which is smaller than the Transporter. Now, this vehicle was met with mixed reaction. A lot of people really liked it and a lot of others didn't. Now, as far as the likes were concerned, I actually do sit in that camp. I do like the fact that it is a twin slider, so you can access the vehicle from both sides. It's got multiple fuel sources, so you can cook on gas and you can cook on electric, or take your solo stove with you as well. Got the kitchen, which can be utilised inside the vehicle and also outside of it. It's got the really good modern technology with the digital dash, which is seen on the ID Buzz and the California, and also the Caravelle before that actually got phased out. It's got the big infotainment screen, and it's also got the touch panel, the touch screen in the rear of the vehicle, which you can use to control some of the camper controls, the heating systems, the lighting controls, things such as that. I actually really like that modern technology. Now, one of the concerns by other people were the fact that, well, actually, it's too small. Yeah, it's going to be built on the long vehicle, and that's the long overhang, because they're actually both the same wheelbase, the short and the long, same wheelbase, but just a different overhang. A lot of people saying that they're short on capacity, short on space, but I'll touch on that in a moment. But will converters ever take this on? And that is the other problem with it. The fact that if this is the camper vehicle from Volkswagen built on the Multivan, well, if converters wanted to follow suit, then the only base vehicle which they can get their hands on is this all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles, passenger carrying vehicle, electric doors and bells and whistles this, and fully kitted out. So they're going to be paying a premium to actually get that base vehicle itself, whereas at the moment, they can buy that vehicle T6.1 Transporter, panel van, completely empty in the rear, and then build from that. So they're not paying extra as they would be for the Caravelle interior or the Combi interior, wherever it is, ripping all that out and then starting again. So for a converter to start building on that, it's really quite cost prohibitive. That's unless Volkswagen decided that, actually, there you go, you VW approved converters, you can actually have an empty vehicle to be able to begin your conversion on. Maybe that's something that could happen, who knows. But as far as the size of it is concerned, the Multivan is bigger than the ID Buzz. Now, the VW ID Buzz was actually the original California idea which Volkswagen apparently had. And they'd actually done a U-turn from that vehicle and decided, no, we're not going to be building the camper on that vehicle. We're going to be building it on the platform of the Multivan. So it was a big change from them. but that would have been even smaller than the Multivan. Now, although Volkswagen have done that U-turn on that vehicle, and I don't believe that they are actually pursuing it, I think some converters, well, I do actually know some converters are still pursuing it. They are still looking at the idea that they could actually build a campervan on that platform. I'm not particularly too sure. Yes, you've got the weight factor of it. It is a heavy vehicle to start with. By the time you've added all the campervan components, the seats, the pop tops, you've added the luggage and the passengers in it, it's becoming a really, really heavy vehicle. And then you've got to think about the range. Now, a lot of people complain about the ranges of EV vehicles anyway, not specifically saying Volkswagen is poor, but I am saying that some people don't like the ranges of some of these vehicles, and the fact that that is going to be further depleted by the fact that you've added a ton more weight to it, let alone you're adding your water and your gas and your other bits and pieces you're going to be adding onto it. It's just going to make that range even lower. So is that actually going to be something which could be utilised as a camper van? I don't know. We'll find out, I'm sure. See, I know a lot of people are saying that it's more of a day van than it is as a camper van. And maybe that is actually true. But if you are wanting something bigger, then Volkswagen introduced the all new, well, it isn't actually all new, is it? It's just a facelift. But the VW Crafter 2024 model, as of 2024, which is tomorrow, but it's not actually out till tomorrow. I think it's April it comes out. They announced the Crafter, which is, like I said, a facelift. And this, as far as I'm concerned, is really, really nice inside. It contains the same displays as we've just discussed in the ID Buzz and the Multivan. There's much modern technology. The screens, it's got the big infotainment screen, 12.9 inch, I think it is. Now, in a Crafter, that obviously doesn't look out of place. It's got the auto stalks. If you've got the automatic, that's now on the right-hand side, and it's also got rid of the handbrake. So the handbrake, which was a mechanical lever on the left-hand side in between the passenger and the driver's seat, that is now gone, and that is a button, which then means that you've got that space in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat, so you can actually swivel those seats round, which is brilliant for a camper van. And this vehicle seems to be really, really important going forward. A lot of people are looking at this much bigger vehicle. They are building a lot more conversions on it. This being the Volkswagen Crafter and also the MAN TGE. There's lots more space in it. It is a far bigger vehicle. You can put much more in it. Conversion companies have already started building them. In fact, some of them have been doing from a couple of years now, and they are expanding them on them. But like the transporters, there is a massive difference between one of the vehicles and another vehicle. So if you're looking at this 70 grand vehicle and thinking, wow, that Crafter is absolutely fantastic, I don't want that one which is 90 grand or 100 grand. You need to look at it carefully, because that one which you might be looking at for 70 grand might be, this fire's getting really hot now. These Solo stoves are absolutely brilliant. I tell you what, this is just the Ranger. I'm going to be getting the Bonfire very, very soon, which is bigger, and that's kind of what I'm going to be mainly going to be keeping at home. I've got my pizza oven there, but I've also got something else coming as well, as far as that's concerned. I absolutely love my Solo stove. I'm not here to talk about the Solo stove today, but I absolutely love it. Anyway, back to the van. So yeah, so if you're looking at this 70 grand van, you've got to be looking at, well, actually, it's only got 2 travelling seats. Its base spec, it's 102 horsepower, 5-speed manual. It only sleeps 2. There isn't a pop top. There's no lithium. There's no solar. You get the idea. The list goes on. Not all specs are the same. Like the Transporter, you need to delve down and actually have a look into the specs to see what you're going to be getting with the vehicle, because there's vast, vast differences, which are even greater than the Transporter, because like I said, this is a massive, spacious vehicle. You know, you've got you can have your hot shower in there. You've got hot water. You've got a toilet, which is certainly something you don't get in a Transporter. Well, if you do, it's certainly compromised, and it's probably better to keep that outside. It's far bigger, far more spacious. You can get far more stuff in there, so your specs can be far, far greater. So make sure you do look into it. So with all this extra stuff, why would you even bother buying a Transporter if you could buy a Crafter for 70 grand? Well, I did a video on that, campervan versus motorhome. You can actually have a look at that after you've finished watching this one, because even though you might be able to spend the same amount of money, there's still big differences. And personally, I love a Crafter, but if I had a Crafter, I'd need another vehicle as well. There you go. Don't have to watch that other video now. There's a massive hint. But if it is the smaller vans which you're into, then two massive things happened towards the end of this year. The first one being the all-new Transit, and that one really is the all-new Ford Transit Custom. That has now been released. It is in the showrooms. It's even on the road. Converters have even got them, and they're starting to convert them. They'll start putting the conversion in that. They'll try and sell those, which I'm sure they will. And then once the Volkswagen one comes out, then they'll be able to just easily transfer that over to the Volkswagen model with relative ease, I would have thought. But now, finally, Volkswagen have unveiled the new T7 Transporter, whatever it is. The first of all, it came out on a German YouTube channel, and it just showed a bit of the Bully family, and it showed the ID Buzz, the Multivan, and this new Transporter. But then after that, we had the official UK press release, and I did do a video on that, and you can check out the full video, which I did, so you can find out a little bit more about it. Now, this vehicle really did cause a stir, but the previous vehicles have also caused a stir. When the T4 came out, nobody liked it. When the T5 came out, nobody liked it. When the T6 came out, nobody liked it. They all wanted the previous ones. So I get that people are going to be feeling the same about this. However, I do think that this is a little bit different, because you're no longer going from a Volkswagen T4 to a Volkswagen T5. You're now going to a Ford Volkswagen T7, is it? So it is different. It isn't a Volkswagen. Has that heritage gone? Has all that history from the past just vanished away, because now the vehicle is predominantly going to be a Ford, as it's being built alongside the all-new Transit Custom in the plant in Turkey? It really is Ford. What difference is there going to be? Why would people want to choose the Volkswagen over the Ford? I mean, I know, but has that history gone? Now, one phrase which I am hearing over and over again, not just from owners, but I've actually heard it from converters as well, and that is brand suicide. Have Volkswagen committed brand suicide? Are they about to commit brand suicide? If the campervan model of the Transporter is not actually going to be available, then all that has been built up from all the original splitties and the bay windows and all that history we've got of Transporters, has it gone? Has it gone up in a puff of smoke because now they've all of a sudden decided to collaborate with Ford? It's not for me to say. I'm not going to be answering that question, but we are going to be discussing it in a couple of videos coming up soon. Can it really be as bad as people are saying? Time will tell. We won't see the Volkswagen Transporter in the UK for quite some time yet, but the order books will be opening at some point during next year. What will demand be like? Will people want to go out there and buy them? Or are they going to be hanging on to the current vehicles? And does that mean that the prices of the current vans, whether it be a T6.1, a T6, T5, are those going to be increasing in value? There's so many questions, which I am going to be addressing some of them soon. But if you didn't see the video on the new Transporter, then you can see that here. I appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year, and I hope to see you soon.